Sometimes life gets messy. Sometimes it gets hard. We may not know where to turn or how to break the cycle. But there's good news. There is hope. Welcome to Hope Connection, a podcast connecting you with everyday people who found hope in the difficulty and tragedy of life. As they tell their stories of freedom and a better life, we trust you will find encouragement and tools to take with you on your journey. If you are looking for more resources of hope, contact the Hope Line at 888-912-6487 or email us at hopeline@ahandupministries.org. And now, we invite you to settle in and join us for this episode of Hope Connection.
Hello. We want to welcome you to Hope Connection. We hope that you'll just settle in with us and just look, because we're going to have a connection for hope for your life. You may be listening in today. Doesn't matter where you're from, what situation you may be. But I want you to know there is hope regardless. We're living in a day to where it just seems like there's not any hope. There's so many hopeless people, so many hopeless situations. And we want you to know that we are here because and we're going to be here as long as there's one person that's dealing with some kind of addiction in their life, or dealing with some kind of loss in their life, dealing with some kind of hopeless situation. We're going to do our best to be here in some way, shape, or form to be able to bring, because there is hope. You're going to see, there's 4 people sitting right here that are living proof that there is hope beyond ourselves. And oh, by the way, my name is Rex Mayo, and this is my beautiful wife, Tammy.
Hi, I'm Tammy, and you are going to hear a great story of hope from our friends Clark and Stephanie today, and I'm so excited because I know their story, so I can't wait for them to share it.
Yes, so Clark and Stephanie, these are our friends, Clark and Stephanie. And I'll tell you, I just love it. And this is comfortable for us because we're friends. You know, they're some of the people we talk to almost every day. And I'm just so blown away how God has, we've all had different trips, different roads that we've traveled, and how he brought us all together is just an amazing thing. And so this is the topic today is, it's roaches from the Roach Motel to the Palace. Now, I don't know really if the hotel, I don't know if that went a little bit too far. Maybe the Palace goes a little bit, but there has been a tremendous change. We're going to talk about these two with the backgrounds that they had, coming together and becoming husband and wife, and then starting a life together, a life of recovery, and a life of discipleship, learning how to follow Jesus. And it's going to be good. So you get a cup of coffee and you come join us. And Clark and Stephanie, I don't know which one of you want to start it off, but we know you, and we know the dogs' names and all of that kind of stuff. And but tell our audience who Clark and Stephanie Shepherd are.
Do you want me to go?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm Clark.
This is a change, right?
This is Clark.
This is a change.
Yeah. This is my beautiful wife, Stephanie. How long have we been married, Stephanie?
7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 years.
7 years in October.
Mm-hmm.
So we met in our addiction. I met by selling you some drugs. What did you think of me at that time? I'll let you.
I've heard this.
Yeah, I wanted to get this out of the way.
Clark was a thug. He was a dope boy, and he was a thug, and that was exciting to me. So we met through some mutual sketchy contacts, drug related. That's the only thing that we had in common. And I just remember
several people saying, "Oh yeah, that's Clark, you can trust him," which that doesn't go very far in the drug game. But I remember hearing that about him and thinking, okay, everybody seems to think he's a good guy. So, you know, I just liked him naturally. He had a very sarcastic, very abrasive personality, which some of that has not changed. Some of that carried over. But I don't.
Still working on me.
Yeah, God is still working on him.
He uses that sometimes.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. But we were both very bad off. We were both just in that whole addiction lifestyle. Didn't really look out for anybody except our own selves. And then once we kind of got together, it's really hard to maintain a relationship in addiction. It just is, because if both of you are selfish, then it's just hard for anything to work. So we went through a lot of things that a lot of relationships don't survive. But we always kind of just were stuck on each other, really. When I look back on some of those situations, I think, like, maybe, you know, sometimes you go through things with people and you can become trauma bonded, or you can become like, you just feel a connection to that person because you've been through so many bad things together. Like, y'all have been through some really hard times together. And I think some of that is what kept us together, because life was not good back then. And I do try to say this anytime we talk to people, is that in addiction, you're not just addicted to a drug, you can get addicted to people. And we were definitely addicted to each other. And there was a point in time where I told him that I was tired of living this life. I didn't want it anymore. I had been in active addiction longer than he had at this point, and I was really getting exhausted with it. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, I'm not ready to quit yet." And I followed him. So,
So you guys have had a bond for how many years now? The 7 you've been married, but it goes back how far, the relationship?
I think we got together probably in 2013.
So about 10 years.
yeah.
Okay. So, but today, Dad, Mom, Layla,
Yes.
two
Two
dogs,
sons, named
Two dogs.
two sons,
Yes.
Kevin and Carl. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and it. But was there a time when you really didn't think you would have vehicles to drive, or a home that you live in, or you know, you're convicted felons, so I mean, you guys you don't have minimum wage jobs. You guys have got two pretty good jobs, so that's a miracle in itself. And so what I'd love for you to do is to take us back. You know, we've had cookouts at you guys' house, and you just a big open area, and we just plenty of room, plenty of things. You know, we've been to the boat, you know, to play with your toys, and you know, it's just just looking from the outside, it's just a beautiful life. But it hadn't always been that way, and you've alluded to that a little bit. But could you carry us back? Maybe I know there was some connection, and y'all were talking back and forth. Those, I don't know if it's both of your last times in jail, or when it was, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to turn things. Take us back there. You're tired of the drug life. It wore you both out. You both got to a place where you were ready to change, and so you're going to do it. You get saved. So just, I could tell the story. I don't need to tell the story. You tell it, okay?
So yeah, we got tired of it. We got tired of the jail. We got tired of the life. We got saved. I got saved while I was in jail. When don't know when it happened for you, but it happened for me when I was in jail.
I was in jail too.
So we got out, and I got out first, stayed with my dad for a month or so until Stephanie got out. And we had just enough money to rent a one-bedroom apartment in Ringgold, who had a lot of roaches, and we had to spend a lot of time at the laundromat once a week, after church. That was our Sunday, go to church, go to the laundromat. And the roaches really wasn't the bad part about the hotel. There was a neighbor who had an annoying wind chime that hung right outside our door. And that thing drove me crazy. But, we worked minimum wage jobs, barely making it, and it could have been so much easier to go back and do the things that we were used to doing. But we didn't, and we kept making some grown-up decisions and following what Jesus placed in our heart.
So, are you saying it was hard even after you became Christians?
It would be probably safe to say it was a little harder than the other life.
Yeah, well, talk about that a minute. Why? Because some people may not understand. What do you mean?
It's hard to give up some things that you're used to. It's hard to give up the lies that you're used to and create that new identity in Jesus, and to do something that's not normal, to do something that's not comfortable. We were living together in a lie because I was on probation in a separate state, lying to probation. Right off the gate, I was lying. Right off the gate, we were living together, not married. And
Never even considered that might not be the best thing to do.
Tell that story about the pastor. Yeah, because you guys were going to church, and and you were living together, and then I think your pastor brought to your attention, or you guys.
It was a combination of our pastor. It was a combination of probation, and then I wooed her with, I've got health insurance at my work, and I'd like to marry me so you can get health insurance. That really did it.
Right.
So romantic.
It was. They did. Probation is very strict about, and you can't. They're going to come to your house. They came to our house a lot. So once one of my probation officers came in and woke him up, I think. But if you are not married, it is part of your probation that you are not to even be around another convicted felon, because they know that, two like minds with a bad idea is going to result in more felonies. I mean, it just is. So it was kind of like we both knew that we were going to be together, and really, he came to pick me up. His daddy drove a van to pick me up from the jail, and he was like, "We're getting married." I said, "Okay." That was it. So, but we did that, and he was on probation in another state. So out the gate, we had to get some things taken care of before God was going to bless our lives. We had to do our part, and that took a lot of cleaning up, a lot of, we had strewn a lot of lies and a lot of hurt in other people and things, and we had to really, really determine that we were going to let go of the past. Because when somebody is in recovery, and that somebody is you don't want other people throwing up your past in your face all the time. And I think this is why it's very important that we actually teach now that it's not a good idea to be in a relationship in recovery, because you just don't have the emotional capacity and the maturity to. It was a God thing for us. We are not the norm. This would not have worked if God had not been in the center of it, and if we both had not come to the realization that each one of us individually was going to seek God first. Mm-hmm. It would not have worked otherwise. And we had to come to the point where, as desperate as we wanted people to stop bringing up our past and let us create a new life, we had to do that with each other, because we were not good to each other in our addiction. We didn't treat each other with respect, and we didn't, guard each other's hearts and put each other's needs before our own. We didn't do those things. So for us to not only be in recovery from addiction, and try to chase Jesus, we also had to figure out how to be a spouse. So that's a lot. I'm just telling
I'm
you.
still trying to figure that out.
Okay. So
I think the thing that Tammy was referring to is how Pastor Jerry, when it came time to get married, he's like, you need X amount of marriage counseling before I'll marry you. Here's one, here's one, here's one, here's when you're getting married. And that's when we got married.
that's how we picked our wedding day. Was
There's nothing special about it. I mean, about picking it, there was nothing romantic about that day. It was.
But before we got married, he made it a point that the two of us were baptized together. That was important to him, and that was one of those aha moments for me, because I thought, well, no man in this life has ever told me that I needed to be baptized before I married him, and that he also wanted to be baptized before I married, before we became married. I thought, well, that's different, and that is something that'll be important to me until I meet Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So you guys just kept doing what you're supposed to do. Start cleaning things up. I've heard you guys teach in class and say, we couldn't live together. It's wrong. We had to do it the right way. And these other things, yes, they were involved and kind of maybe put a little pressure there, but you knew inside that's what you had to do. Some of the relationships, I don't know as many of yours, Stephanie. I know Clark had to face some people from his past that probably didn't have Clark on real high up on their Christmas present list. And so just kind of talk a little bit, because we really do have this impression in the church. The church, for the most part, is clueless to addiction. They're clueless to recovery. And so people, it's going to be easy. Just receive Jesus. It's going to be easy. I'm waiting for easy. I'm still waiting on easy. Things are different now. There's different struggles, right? But so you started off with that house in the minimum wage jobs. Kind of walk through some of the moving, other jobs, because those job opportunities, they didn't come looking for you, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so she worked at a hotel. I worked at Harbor Freight. I got out. My brother worked where I work now, and he wouldn't give me a job because he said I wouldn't hold down a job. He had no reason to believe that I would. But I kept getting up. I kept going to work. I did what I was supposed to do. I didn't miss days. I did was what God blessed me with until I proved to him that I would do it, and then he blessed me some more. And my brother saw me doing this, and he finally came to me and said, "Hey, we're hiring. Let's get you in here." I started out in the lowest position possible there. I worked it. I learned. I moved up into another position. I worked it. I didn't miss days. I didn't call out. I didn't leave early. I didn't do any of these things unless I had to go to court, because I still had court days. And I was up front with them. And I've been there. Just this July will be 8 years. I'm now in a leadership role. I went to jail for identity theft. I've got everybody in the plant, including the plant manager. I've got all their information. I have access to everybody's information. I have, they've entrusted me with a company credit card. You know what I mean? Like, I've got charges on these things, and they know these charges. Trust me, they look at these charges. So I've got opportunities that the world told me I would never have as a convicted felon.
Right.
I was told it would never happen. I'd always be labeled as a convicted felon, and I would always struggle with finding jobs, and I would always have to be worrying about that, and it just isn't true. Do I have a hard time getting up and going to work some days now? Yeah, of course I do. But I get up and do it because I have to be a good steward of what God has blessed me with, and I have a family that I'm responsible for now. You want to share yours?
I mean, mine's very similar to that. I worked in this hotel for over a year doing the same thing, not calling out and showing up and taking even extra shifts if it was okay through probation. These people knew that they could count on me, and it was not a great job at all. Nothing glamorous about it, but I did it. And I determined in myself that I was going to be good at my job. I was going to learn how to be good at it. And I did. I can remember praying and asking God to make me smart. Like, if you'll just make me good at this, if you'll make me be able to learn this computer system so I can do a good job, that's what I want to be able to do. I've not ever been good at anything. I need your help with this. And I would pray about things like that, I still do. And then I had someone reach out to me on Facebook and sort of offer me a different position, and I was leery of that, but I went anyway because it was something I'd never done before. And they told me, they're like, if you'll come and work for me, I'll double your pay. And so I was like, it's okay, sign me up. And I stayed at that job for 5.5 years, and it got very, I started at the bottom doing the smallest job until they realized they could trust me. And then I worked my way all the way up through that job to every position that you can have, and really ran that company for a long time. And I really felt like God was telling me that I just have something more for you. I have something bigger for you if you will just trust me. And I had a hard time with that because I thought, they doubled what I was making at a job I didn't know they'd hire me to do. Mm-hmm. So he had to really work on me in that season because I very likely stayed too long there. Sometimes he has to make you uncomfortable where you've been comfortable so long, and that happened to me. And I thought, well, I'm doing what you want me to do. I know that you made a way for this to happen, but I kept feeling like he was telling me it's time to move. So in every Bible study, every lesson, every time the preacher would open his mouth, there would be something about it's time to break camp. Every time. So I finally put an application out, and really what I did was I waited. By the time I applied for the job I'm in currently, as far as the state of Georgia is concerned, it's been over the 7-year mark. So I applied for a new job, and they immediately hired me, and they put me in a leadership position 2 or 3 months in, and then they put me into a higher leadership position. And but I know it's because there's not one person that I work with that couldn't tell you that, like, I love God. Everybody that I work with knows that. People will come to me and they'll say, will you just pray about this? Because they know they can. Mm-hmm. And I know it isn't about status, and it isn't about, how far up the ladder you can make it. It's about, like, God has put his spirit inside of me to be able to use a position of leadership, not just to, benefit the business, but to benefit other people's lives because of what he's really done for me. Mm. So I am grateful for that.
But back on the, moving from the roach infested, we did live there for a little bit, and then we got a little bit better apartment, and we took care of that. We got rid of the roaches in the first one and left it roach free for the next people. And I believe that God honored us leaving it better than we left it.
That's good.
Even though they didn't give us our deposit back because we didn't give them enough heads up that we were leaving something that we didn't understand. But, we still left it better than we found it, and that was hard for us.
Yeah, it was.
we ended up, like I couldn't even get the lights turned on in my name, but we ended up, I got a credit card I had to put money down on and pay interest on my own money and build my credit, and in 2019 we were able to purchase our first house, and we had put in the time and put in everything, and we were able to let our daughter move in with us and get custody back of her, and then I adopted her, and it's been a struggle, and it's hard. It's hard because I worry that she's going to do some of the things that we did, and I don't want that, and I don't know how to stop it. It's got to be Jesus, but as a man, I want to be the one that fixes it. I want to be the one that stops it, and I feel like most of the time I'm just hindering it instead of helping it sometimes, but I trust that Jesus will use whatever he has fit or whatever he has in store to make sure that she does what she is supposed to do and becomes a good godly woman.
That's awesome. And I hope you guys have heard the transformation, the hope journey, that they were hopeless, locked in a situation where things weren't going to change. Then they take a step of faith, and things didn't just get all great overnight. It was a process. And I've heard somebody say, and I hear this over and over in you guys, I know you trust and you know that it's by his strength that you're able to do what you do, but you work like it all depends on your work. We're missing that in some relationships and some things that are going on, and so there is still a part, but I love it because I hear it in myself talking to people. When people are gonna do what they want to do. We're going to get up in the morning and we're going to do it. We're going to go after it. We may not work a job. Somebody might go steal some money to get it, but we're going to do it. We're going to, whatever it takes to get what we want, we're going to do that. And what you've heard, they wanted a better life. It began with that relationship with Jesus Christ, but they worked as hard and still do. I told them the other day, I said, I don't want to do life without you guys. They've just become a part of our lives, become part of Celebrate Recovery and Hand Up, and individual guys that they work with and deal with and care about. And it's been because of trust, but also working and doing it, even when it didn't look rosy, even when there were roaches, and even when there was not enough paycheck to get across what you wanted or felt like you needed, but you stayed at it. And I'm your cheerleader, man. I just love it, love it, love it. Now, what I want you to do in the time that we have left, and you can both do it or just, vote. And this is the first time I've seen Clark vote, and step up, and he's not the man with the microphone most of the time, but if you could leave one thing that you can do that'll make a difference. Somebody out there said, okay, I want to start this journey of hope, but how do I get started? What do I do? What would you tell them?
Quit getting ahead of Jesus. Quit leaving him standing back there when trouble comes and try to fix it yourself. That's the individual thing, and if, like she said earlier, if it's a together thing, if it's a couple thing, and you'll have a past, you gotta want the relationship more than you want to bring up the old stuff that happened. You gotta forget it. You gotta forgive that stuff. And you got to let Jesus be in the center of it.
And I would say that you need people around you that are currently successfully living a life that you admire.
That's good.
You
good.
need that. Stop asking advice from people that don't have any business giving you advice. If they're not happily married, don't ask them for marriage advice. Find people that are doing life in a way that you want to model your life after. People that'll point you towards Jesus and that will help you, not be selfish, and that will call you out and tell you when maybe you're not having the right reaction to something. Those are the people that are going to bring value to you and to your relationships.
That's good. That's good. I don't know where you may be individually struggling. You may be grieving over a broken up relationship. I don't know where you may find yourself, or you may be just you're a couple and you're struggling. You thought things were going to be different, and you need somebody to share some hope. That's what Clark and Stephanie have done today, is share hope. There is hope for you. There is hope. You can do this, and you don't have to do it alone. That's the beautiful thing about a relationship with Jesus Christ. I never have to do anything by myself. And being a husband and being a dad are the two things that I struggle with the most. And without him walking with me, I couldn't do it. But with him, I can do all things. And that's what I've heard you guys be able to say. If it's okay with you, no matter where you are, if it's all right, we want to pray for you. And I'm going to ask Clark if he would close us out in prayer. I want you just to know that we're praying. Reach out to us through the Hope line. Connect with us. Connect with somebody that you know that cares about you. There may be a church in your community, or they may be somebody that you just know that's a good person, and they've talked to you. Reach out to them during this time. We're so glad that you've been with us. Now I'm going to ask Clark just to close us out in the time of prayer.
Jesus, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for what you've done in our lives, and thank you for what you're going to do in the lives of the people that hear this. God, we couldn't have done it without you. Wouldn't want to. Jesus, we know that you love us, and we know that you're there for us, and we know that you will never leave us. And God, for the people that's listening to this right now, God, we just pray that you will let them know that you have the same love for them, and you have the same desire for them, and you want to see them succeed. You don't want to see them in their addiction or in their hurts or their habits or whatever the case may be, and that you love them and that you're right there, and all they've got to do is call out to you, Lord. All they've got to do is say your name, and you're just waiting on them. You're waiting right there. You want to help them, and you will. And the enemy will convince them that nobody loves them and that nobody cares. But God, just let them know that that's a lie, and that is nothing that you've said, that you call them sons and daughters, and that you want them to do better, and you want them to have an abundant life with you, Jesus. And we just pray that they will find the help that they need, that they will talk to the person that they need, that you will put in their lives, God, that will help them, and that they will do better, and that this year is the year that they get their lives turned around, God. And we just believe that, and we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I want to personally thank each of you for joining us on Hope Connection today. I trust that you were encouraged by the story of hope that you heard. Now, I hope you'll reach out to us with your comments, concerns, questions, and also, if you'll see the number and the email address that are coming across the screen, please reach out to us. If you need someone to talk with, to walk with you, to point you in the right direction, please give us an opportunity. We would love to do anything that we can to be able to help you in this journey of hope that you are doing. Also, please help us by sharing this episode with your friends and family, either through Facebook or any other media outlet that you use. Please help us by sharing and getting the word out. And remember, there is hope. Keep walking. Don't give up. You can do this. Until next time, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. God bless you.